And so when we get caught in that, we get caught in body consciousness. And you get people, I call it emotional addiction. I had this at one time. An emotional addiction, you know the receptors of the cells that take in heroin and cocaine and all that stuff? They are the same receptors that take the chemicals caused by emotions, because emotions create a chemical reaction in the body, and vice versa. Hence the mercury and the fillings and all that stuff. And we can get into a state of emotional fear and fear of not surviving. It's kind of all different expressions of that, where we need a fix when there's nothing to worry about. I noticed that. I felt uncomfortable. I was almost in, emotional cold turkey at one time in my life when I didn't have anything to worry about. Because it's an emotional state, it's a chemical state, it's a drug state. And it's a body consciousness state, which has these survival programs. When we move our consciousness to this level, then we know there's nothing to survive. And so the survival instincts, while they can react on a body level to physical danger, quote, they're not constantly constraining and influencing our reality. Now, what is there to worry about? What is there to fear of not surviving when you hear this? Everything from the beginning, my birth, my ancestors, my children, my wife, everything comes together simultaneously. I saw everything about me and about everyone who was around me. I saw everything they were thinking now, what they thought then, what was happening before, what was happening now. There is no time, there is no sequence of events, no such thing as limitation of distance, of period, of place, of time. I could be anywhere I wanted to be simultaneously. What is there to fear surviving or not surviving when we move to that level of consciousness? That's the level, if we get to it, and we can come from that within physical embodiment, or what we call it, suddenly our lives transform. And if enough people do it, this reality transforms. Know thyself. That's something that we've been manipulated not to know. Don't ask questions, know the answer. When we're thinking, questions, we're actually saying to ourselves, I don't know the answer. When if we just get to that level of knowing, of intuitive knowing, you find the answer without asking the question. You just know. This asks questions, trying to work things out. Chatter. Wonder what that is. The reason at the level of intuitive knowing, the connection to higher awareness, you know the answer without asking the question, is because instead of asking the question within isolated consciousness, disconnected from infinite awareness, you're now connected to infinite awareness. So instead of asking the question, you know the answer, because infinite awareness is the all-knowing. There is where the answers lie. Without asking the questions, you just know. I just know I've got to be so-and-so tomorrow. How do you know that? I don't know. I can't explain it. I just know. And you go, and what happens? Something happens that takes you forward. Whereas you'd have gone, no, I can't do that. No, you can't do that. You've got things to do. You've got to go to the supermarket tomorrow. I feel to go there. This intuitive level of knowing is our connection to higher consciousness. And this is, if you watch it, always at war with intuition. Nearly always. And when we go with this intuitive knowing, again, right brain, and don't let the left brain dominate. You can't do that, you've got a mortgage, and you've got an appointment tomorrow. You can't do that, you can't go to India. No, you've got a mortgage, all that stuff. This is always telling us what we can't do, because it thinks in such limited terms of structure. This tells us what we are and what we can do. And if we choose to go with it, then we start to break out of this mind prison. And I have to say, what changed my life, I say more than anything else, was when I decided, funnily enough, just before I started to have this awakening, I decided, because of experiences I had, experiences I didn't like again, but were a wonderful gift, I decided that if I ever had a situation again where my intuition said one thing and my head said another, I was going with my intuition every time. And I went with it, and I went with it, and I went with it, and you may have noticed it got me into a bit of trouble sometimes. It got me into a bit of trouble. But what happens then when you follow your intuition and you get into a bit of trouble? I got in a bit of trouble, Betty, and all that stuff. No one remembers that either. My bloody age, I don't know. This guy crosses the arms. See, I bloody told you, didn't listen to me, get into trouble. I know, you should have listened to me. A lot of people go, yeah, I know, oh no, I'll never do that again. But if you keep going with your intuition, you keep following this knowing, these urges, these passions of what you want to do with your life and where you want to go and where you want to be, eventually the sequence of situations leads the left brain, which is an observer of reality, and if you talk its language, it can kind of come round. And it says, hold on a second. When you follow your intuition, you get into a bit of trouble, but then that led to that, and that led to that, and that led to that. Oh, it works out in the end, doesn't it? And what happens, and this happened to me around the mid-90s, what I felt intuitively and what I thought became one. So there was the war stopped. I want to do this. No, you got to do that. You got to do this. Stopped. And now they operate as one unit because this has seen enough of what intuition does to go, okay, I can see it. I'll go with this. And it's open to anyone to do that, to stop that war between intuitive knowing, because they should be working as one unit. They shouldn't be at war. All these different elements that decode reality should be working as one unit. To do this. And then we can start controlling our own reality. Knowingly, in awareness, because we're doing it anyway. And what these manipulators do, because they know this system, they impose and implant belief systems which then affect our energy field, which then draw to us decoded reality, daily experience that matches the belief systems that have been programmed into us. They are programming our reality through us. And when we clear that out, we then can consciously start to create our own, which is the worst nightmare of the manipulators. Worst nightmare. It was in the Matrix movie when the Neo character went through the death experience and came through it and realized it was an illusion, and he stopped seeing people in the holographic world, as I would put it, as people, and started seeing them like that. When he realized it was all an illusion, that's when he was able to control his own reality. There's a lot in that movie that's true. And as we change our own energy field, we are then able to make that consciousness change available to other people. In this 100th monkey syndrome they talk about, which is connection between people. And then we come system failure in this crap. Now, I've got 10 minutes left before they throw me out. So I want to talk about this, and it comes on the end of all that I've talked about in this last section. There very much seems to be a shift in consciousness going on. When I first woke up, and amazing things were happening to me, and I didn't understand them. One of the themes at that time, we're talking 1990, was that there was a consciousness shift coming. I kept meeting psychic people a lot in those days, and they kept saying, I'm getting something, I'm being told to tell you this, and again it was, there's a consciousness shift coming. There is an awakening coming. People are going to come out of the trance in effect, and it's happening now. And now as the 90s have become the new century, more and more this stuff about this shift is going on. An energy shift, which is acting like a spiritual alarm clock. And I've seen it. All over the world I've seen it. People starting to get it and wake up and see the true magnitude of who they are. This energy change is happening. And therefore, those that open their minds to it are starting to access and decode different frequencies, different ranges of reality, which are starting to change their experienced reality from division to oneness. And there's a lot of talk about 2012 and the Mayan calendar and all that stuff. I have to say, I'm not one of those people that say everything's going to change in 2012. I don't see that. What I see is that this is a symbolic, or more than symbolic, window when terrific change is going to take place. And this cycle that we've been through is changed into another cycle, which is going to be very different and far more near paradise than the prison that is emerging. And I in 1990, I'm not really big into channeled information and stuff when, psychics take all this stuff. You can get really good ones when they really get out there, and you can get some really profound stuff which takes you on. But a lot of stuff is not like that, but some of it is. And in 1990, I experienced this, and it stood the test of time in my experience. It was a lady who channeled this consciousness back in 1990 when I was in la land, what's happening to my life. And I'll just read what it said because it's so relevant to now with the hindsight of the years that have passed. And if anyone doesn't, believe in shapeshifting, they should have seen this woman's face when she was doing this, because she became someone else. Her face, it was like, whoa, changed to a completely different face. And this is what it said. I feel you are sensing now the energies coming in, the energies surrounding your planet. This is causing many of you to ask questions. It is causing many of you to reevaluate completely your way of life, where you feel you wish to go, what you want to do. It is causing tremendous upheavals. Some of these upheavals are very confusing, very distressing, very disturbing. Some people in partnerships are finding they can no longer continue in those partnerships because their partners cannot tune into what they are tuning into. This is causing a great deal of disturbance. And I have said to this sensitive on more than one occasion that you must organize yourselves into groups to support each other. Now then, my own allegiance with your planet goes back to an Atlantean period when there were many energies being used and information and knowledge being used, which were, for particular reasons of safety, withdrawn, shall we say, to prevent complete catastrophe, to prevent total destruction of your planet. One could say these were sort of emergency measures, if you like, to prevent the inhabitants of this planet from an untimely destruction. Now, at that time, shall we say, this knowledge was distributed only to the few. It was taught in what you could call a temple setting, though I'm very careful about using this word. It has connotations, maybe. So let me use that word in the broadest possible sense. There were those initiated into this knowledge. There were grades of initiation, and those who passed the full initiation, these were known as the guardians of the light and the keepers of the secret knowledge. This is the context from which I'm coming. There was a time when this knowledge and the energies were withdrawn. It is very difficult for me to explain to you precisely what I mean by that, so I will let you mull these things over. As the energies around your planet quicken, this is 1990, so these latent energies, these energies which have been withdrawn, will now be phased back in. They will gradually be awakened. As the consciousness level of your planet raises itself, those of you who are working together to raise your consciousness, you will be able to hold more and more refined vibrations, and so we will be able to use you as a catalyst to be able to feed in more and more energies.